I'm digging the shirt, man. Florida A&M University dad.
In case somebody need to know.
In case somebody need to know.
Let them know.
Now you know.
Yes, sir.
Now you know.
Yeah, buddy.
You want something to drink?
You know what? Yeah, I'll take a water. Because what'll happen is I'm going to need one anyway.
That's a fact. Totally get that. Here you go.
Hey, man, all them cool days are gone, brother. Looks like we done with that. I was trying to keep up with today's game, and now I'm looking now, and it's going pretty rough.
I'm looking at that right now, dude. It's like what? Way through the third quarter.
Yeah.
It is slightly ugly.
Yep.
Slightly ugly. 72-55. Now, I was pulling for OKC to go ahead and move forward with this, even though I am a bit of a fanboy when it comes to Russell Westbrook. I think he's over-vilified for his gameplay. Everything I've always heard about him when it comes to the locker room and what he brings to the team, not even just, locker room wise, but what he brings energy wise to the team and whatnot. He a dog. He a dog, and I respect a dog every day of the week.
He's
every day of the week.
I think people don't like him because he doesn't conform in a lot of places.
No,
that everybody else does.
No,
and some of that stuff
you'll say what you gotta
get
say.
On my nerves, and I'm like, yeah, but that's kind of what he wants to do.
What, get on your nerves?
Some of the stuff he would do, and not really lately, but some of the stuff he would do in the past. I was like, man, he's going too far. My thing would be, I'm like, I wouldn't have done that. But then the thing is, it's like, what's wrong with what he's doing? And the only thing I can think of is I don't appreciate the methodology. And I just leave it alone.
And you talking about his gameplay?
Just, and some of the antics that he would have in the game. I've watched him in the past take some hero shots after getting pissed off with another player. So he goes down and shoots 4 times in a row. But he's shooting from distance, and he ain't a distance shooter. So I was like, yo, calm down. Generally speaking.
Yeah, he did have a little bit. At one point, he did have a little bit of that anything you can do, I can do better mentality.
What he does not have is a bunch of fear.
He has no fear.
Like, yo, that's the world champion 2-time this and that. And he's like,
okay. They believe just like
he's in the lane when I get there. I don't really care who he is. And I like that. As opposed to a guy like Draymond Green, who I got big issues with some of the stuff that he does. Because it's, when you start making basketball plays, I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm not into that. Russell's not, he'll hit you and do some things, but he's not a dirty guy. And I remember he was getting, I think he went like 3 or 4 years and he averaged a triple-double.
Yeah. And
people were like, yeah, but he's stat padding. And I'm like, do you know how hard it is to get
a triple-double?
One triple-double?
In your entire career. On top of that, okay, he's stat padding. But who's he giving the ball to? Who else is he going to get the ball to? On top of that, if he's stat padding, he's still dishing out double-digit assists per game on average, which means he's passing the ball. If there are rebounds he's getting, it's likely not his own because usually his shots are deep. So if his shots are deep, somebody else from short are getting his rebounds. So if he's getting rebounds, he's actually hustling on rebounds defensively and offensively because, again, he's hustling. A lot of these cats don't really hustle no more. They always want to be like Steph Curry so bad. And I get it. Every generation has that player they want to be like. Our generation, we want to be like Mike. They want to be like Steph. So what's Steph do? Steph shoots the 3. Now, granted, they're only looking at the end result of how Steph plays. They see the highlight reels and that's it. But Steph will shoot a 3 and he'll already start trotting back because he already knows his 3 is going in, which he pretty much is really, he has a really high percentage from deep. But that's what all these other players are trying to emulate now. Oh, I could be like Steph too. Nice. And they ain't got that shot. They ain't got that. They don't have the shot. They ain't got the practice. They ain't got the skill set because what they don't see and other players I've heard them speak on this, other people I've heard them speak on this. Steph, I've even heard him speak on this. When they see his highlights of his shots whenever he's in shooting drills and warm up, and even during the game, all they see are the 3-point shots and the 3-point makes. He's even said they're not seeing that. I start with warm ups and shooting drills and all like that. I start underneath the basket, go to the basket, shoot underneath. I can't remember how many he said, but he makes X amount of shots in a row before he goes back to the next level, which would be a mid range. And, 5 feet from the basket, and 10 feet from the basket, then 15 feet from the basket. Then he goes out to the 3-point area where he shoots a, corner from here, this many from the corner, this many from the corner, this many from the, from the elbow, this many from the elbow, this many from the top of the key, top of the arc. So they don't see the whole full effect. 85-63 now. Good grief.
You got a form shoot. I take my son out there, come dribbling out there. He got ahead of stance before you shoot that three you thinking about.
Take it in.
Take it in.
Take it in, man.
It's boring to shoot them form shots, man. You gotta go. But, after you made 10 or 15, you start to see things that you did not see, and things come into focus. So then you start making a bunch in a row. Then you just move and you just take more. Yeah, and he does that. So somewhere in the 20 teens, he had a year where he made like 400 threes. There were teams that made like 270.
Teams.
Yeah, whole teams. And he made 400 threes. That's when I started paying attention.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that's a lot. And if he was shooting badly, that'd be one thing. Right. He was shooting well. And before that, he was famous. But I'm like, he could shoot. So what? And then I watched that and I'm like, man, every night he's hitting like 6 or 7 threes. Maybe more than that some nights. And he hit 400 threes in 1 year. And I was like, okay.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah, but the work he does, he says, if you got a kid that really wants to be a shooter, tell him to shoot 250, 350 times a day.
Yes. Yes.
And that's where the conversation ends, because a lot of people.
Ray Allen said the same thing.
Yeah, just go shoot. But you can't be, I'm in the gym. You're in the gym with your buddy and y'all playing around. Mm-hmm. And, that's a different thing. And you saw this about Joe Biden?
Cancer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I just saw that, actually. BBC sent an alert about that. Yeah, man. Prostate at that. Not a good look. Not a good look.
Oh, man. That's tough stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that is not a good look, man. Prayers for him. I was not, the biggest fan of him as a president, or anything of that nature. It's but, politics aside, you always want to pray for anybody who's going through anything. I don't care what your political stance is. For some odd reason, we get news about, Trump being diagnosed with it. I'm going to say the exact same thing. Send prayers out for the man because, going through cancer sucks.
Yeah, I don't want any of these politicians to get afflicted with something and be gone. I want them to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
It is true. I liked a lot of things that Joe Biden did. And there were some things I'm looking at. I'm like, I don't like that. And every president I've looked at and halfway studied, just sat down and spent an hour or so. Mm-hmm. I could probably say that about all of them, including Abraham Lincoln. I get beat up for that, but I know the truth. So some of the stuff that he did, I didn't like. But, even with Donald Trump, I have this ever-growing disdain for him. I think he probably, the only thing keeping him from not being maybe the worst president I've ever seen, or worst on my list, is that he wasn't around when chattel slavery was in full effect. And he's up there with those guys. Mm-hmm. Because I cannot regard you as a great president if you readily allow people to be terrorized like that. And that wipes out a majority number, maybe about the first 18 presidents. I think there were 2 that didn't actually own slaves. I think the Adams presidents, father and son, I don't think they actually owned any, but all the rest did.
Yeah.
So you can't be great and be that kind of hypocrite. So that includes George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, everybody else.
Everybody else.
That said, I don't wish a death sentence on you. No. I just wish you to be out of the way or to do better when you're not doing what you need to do.
True.
So terrorizing people, I'm not into that. I don't look at that guy and just be like, man, I'm trying to picture him, and I'm trying to picture his head being blown off. Like when he was getting shot at last year, I think twice in 6 weeks. I was like, we would be better off if he was not positioned the way he is. That is not what I want.
No. That's not the route that needs to be taken.
That ain't it. That's not it.
You don't take another life.
You don't do that. And all you would have
I don't care how much you disagree.
What needs to change is the hypocrisy that people say they want peace and they love one another, but then they actively vote or allow things to happen.
Oh my goodness.
And like I said, I just got a lot of smoke for that. And I'm steady losing network for that because people will get offended when I say that. But I'm like, tell me why you think that's wrong. And they can't. But it makes them uncomfortable. But I thought, not necessarily on the Main Street level, but right above that, the Joe Biden operations were pretty good. The stuff with the student loans and all that, those are easy turnkey things. It didn't really cost a lot government-wise, so they could do those things. But some of the other stuff that they missed on, I mean, I just look at everything going on with Russia, Ukraine, the Gaza Strip, and I just think, what an incredible opportunity we have to be peaceful. And so many parties have not done that. But anyway, we ain't here for that.
Yeah. It's disheartening. On that Russell Westbrook tip, dude. So I'm looking at the stats during his 4 out of 5 years where he averaged a triple-double.
Yeah, come on, man. I mean, dude, I want to have a discussion about like I'm listening to people.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at stats. Defensive rebounds. I mean, his rebounds where he averaged more than 10 double digits rebounds. He averaged 10.7, 10.1, 11.1, and 11.5. That's in chronological order. 4 out of 5 years. The year between 11.1 and 11.5 was 7.9. But here's the thing. The 10.7 rebounds, 9 defensive. The 10.1 rebounds, 8.2 defensive. The 11.1, 9.6, and 11.5, 9.9. My man was hustling.
You know how hard it is?
For a guard.
And you played on, I know one guy, I'm sure you played around that went to the pros. But when you are on the court with a guy and he's 6'11", and they shoot and you turn around like, I want that rebound, and you see he wants it too, boy, that's a tough place to be unless you are 6'11" or 7 feet. When you turn around and try to get that,
when you're trying to
they do things to you. And you're like, man, I don't know if I want to go back in there. Like, they're big, heavy people.
Yes.
And all their life, since they were in pre-K, they're like, yo, you big, you need to be, somebody comes into the paint, you eat them. That's what they've been hearing all their life. So for him to go in there, here's what a guy said. And and this is what I hate. He said, he wants to speak anonymously. I'm like, all right. So he said, man, I'm sick of that guy taking rebounds from big guys. To which I will say, yeah, he's crashing in. So if he's a guard, he's outside. So he's flying in. So he got this head of steam that if you're big, you don't get. I get that. But if you're big, you find a guy that doesn't have your jersey on, you block him out. Now, when you're the first person there with a rim, when the ball's coming off the rim, you should be able to get the majority of your rebounds. Mm-hmm. There's no way. That guy, he's probably shorter than I am. But, man, I watched him play. There are a couple of guys I can think of right now that are going to come up for contracts that are 6'11" and above. And I'm not sure if they're averaging more than 6 rebounds a night. And they want a max contract, 250 plus.
Get out of here.
What? There's 2 dudes I'm thinking about right now. And it's like,
I already know one of them. One of them that gets on my last nerve too, because I cannot stand the way he plays.
Listen, I might know who that is. So that might be 3 guys. They still playing. The guy I'm thinking about, well, actually, one of the guys I'm thinking about, I think he's still playing.
Who?
I have to check and see.
Yeah.
Miles Turner. I think he's going to want a big deal coming up. Actually, Miles playing pretty good right now. He might play his way in there.
Yeah, he might.
But I think Jaren Jackson
tearing it up.
Wants a deal down in Memphis. And I think he's going to want $300 million. But I'm not sure he rebounds quite like that. And the thing about him, he got all the tools. But it just doesn't work out. But to the Russell Westbrook hate, I've seen games where he takes 27 shots while Kevin Durant's still in OKC. That should never happen. But then for every game I see like that, there's like 15 where I'm like, they would have lost if he wasn't there when Kevin Durant was there. Yeah. He's doing a lot of the tough guy stuff from the quarterback position. Yeah. It's kind of a contradictory statement to make. But he did that. And when Kevin Durant leaves, they're supposed to be lottery, and I think they went to the playoffs. So,
well, Brody, man, he only what he's listed as 6'4", but you know that's a lie. They always mark it up. So he's probably 6'2.5", 6'3".
I like him somewhere in there. But oh Lord, if he was 6'8", some of the things that physics just gives you, I mean, there's not a lot that he's going to do differently. He just would do more of it.
Yeah,
because he's been dunking on people anyway. I'm like,
to this day.
Yeah, it's like, and I'm watching him with Denver. Oh, it's not really happening today, but other days I'm like, he's coming off the bench a lot of times, and he's putting it on the B team, and then they switch the B team out and get a couple of A guys in, and he's still in there, and he putting it on them. And then when he's not, you got that cat from where's Jokic from Serbia? You got that cat from Serbia, and you know he's shooting 1 foot, 1 leg threes and all that, so he cheating. And then he gives it back to him. But he took a pay cut to come over there. They wouldn't pay him at his age, but he's playing it out, man. That's cool.
I like what he brought to Denver, man. I hope he stays there for another season. If he does decide to keep playing, I hope he plays for another season with them, because I think what Denver was really missing is just a bench. They really didn't have. They had guys who came off the bench and tried and played hard, but they just did not have what was needed to help support the starting five. And also, too, man. Golly, what's that guy's name? Jamal Murray. I need him to really step his game up. I need him to step his game up.
If he plays well, they're not necessarily unbeatable, but
when he plays well, like when he gets in playoff mode, they're almost unstoppable.
Man.
Because you got him. I mean, you got him in his crazy. Like I said, whenever he gets in that playoff zone, he is there. And then you've got, again, you sort of already have Batman there as the Joker, which is ironic, Joker, Batman. But anyway, but you got the Joker, and then you have Murray coming back as the number 2 guy, playing like a number 1 guy. You've got 2 number 1. You got 2 aces on one squad. And then you got Brody back there who could come off. Well, I don't think he comes off the bench. I think he starts most games. I don't know.
They started Christian Braun.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. But either way, I would prefer him coming off the bench too. Westbrook coming off the bench, because that's like starter mentality coming off the bench. That energy that he always brings, whether he's starting or not. That's the energy that most teams can't handle. When you have I got the starting 5. All right, I cannot. If we can survive the starting 5, we're good. Then you got Westbrook coming off the bench. You're like, oh, man, it's like a double whammy. The left don't get you, the right one will.
It's a peculiar place for him to be. Most people that contribute like he does as a 6-man or lower.
Oh, my goodness.
They are actively saying, okay, after this year, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to tell my agent I need a bag of money. He's on the other end where where Father Time is supposed to start working on him. And maybe he already has. But they have a guy that's dependable. You know exactly what you're going to get from him. What makes him hard to start is the shooting. They have to have shooters in play, because when you start that game off, they want to see what you're going to do with Jokic. And if you're doing things and he figures it out, then guys are going to get shots. I mean, they got Aaron Gordon out there hitting game-winning threes now.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, I don't think anybody saw that coming, but he's figured that out. I mean, he's got multiple game-winning shots within the last, 40 seconds of maybe about 3 games of the playoffs just this year.
Yeah.
Christian Braun over there, he don't really need a lot of room to shoot. And then, of course, if Murray if he's at 80, 85%, he can get 25 points. I'm wondering if he's hurt. But whatever he is, I agree with you. When you step on the floor, you have to put out. Like, either that or you got to say, I'm hurt, I'm injured, I can't play.
I mean, granted, this is the mentality that Westbrook gives you, you know, and also Joker, Joker and Westbrook both. If they out there, they're going to give you everything. If all they have to give is 80%, you're going to get 80% from them.
What's crazy about Jokic is he don't say nothing. Like, he'll fuss at the refs when he's in foul trouble. But, like, he'll be out there. He got a guy on the rotisserie. He's killing him.
Yeah.
He ain't said anything.
No.
game where he had, I think that must have been in like January or maybe November. He had a triple-double in each half. So, like, he started at 0 at the beginning of the game, and at halftime he had a triple-double. And if you started him at 0 again, he had another triple-double in the same game. And he was running around out there like he was, I don't know, just doing a regular gig somewhere. And I'm thinking, man, has that been anybody else? But they would have got a tech. They're just talking crazy, talking reckless to everybody. But he's just kind of like, man, I kind of appreciate that because personally, that's my preference. Just go kill people. You know when you're killing somebody.
Yeah.
And go into the house. But as I got older and heavier, that's when I had to start talking because I didn't have some of the other stuff I needed when I played. I'm like, man, I better start talking to this guy because he's 19. And if I don't get him off his game, it's going to be a long night for me. Pickup ball. So, but he's a different guy, man. Denver, they've got a history of, like, they let go of Bruce Brown that year they won a championship. And they let go of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And they've not been able to get back to the championship because these glue pieces are championship pieces.
Yes.
So if they do that with Westbrook and Westbrook leaves, I don't know if Christian Brown is up and he leaves, man, they better be prepared for what's next.
See, what I like about Westbrook, man, is even though if his shoot, like you said something about his shooting ain't always the best, but even if his shooting ain't good, he'll take it to the basket. He'll take it to the rack.
Going to go to the hole regardless.
Yeah.
If you ever play basketball and you play a guy that always goes to the hole, if you're in shape, that makes you tired. You're like, man, because it's contact and you got to move your feet. That's your guy.
There's no pause. There's no slowing down with him.
He's steady coming at all times.
Yep.
The guy
He's going to wear you down.
The guy that's got to get going for me, you mentioned Murray. That's not my one. The guy that's got to get going is Michael Porter Jr.
Boy, yeah.
Now, you talking about somebody in high school, by the way.
Yeah.
They probably should get some bond money together and put a statue out there for his high school career. Now, I saw some of that. But I'm watching him and the way that they play in Denver, how he could contribute, man, if he could turn that corner. Not only would they probably not be losing this game, it might not even be in a game 7. If Murray starts playing better and Porter Jr. starts playing better.
Yeah. Defensively
and being a creator. He's like the opposite of Westbrook. He's going to take threes and he's not going to do anything else. It seems on offense. That's kind of his thing. And that can be your thing. But he's athletic enough to actually go to the hole. If you Google him and you watch some of them King of the Mountains he was doing, where they just one-on-one one after another, man, he is roasting professional ball players and he hasn't made it to the league yet. So I know he could get out there on the wing and do the same thing, I would think. But I don't know. Those are some bright lights, man. I never played under those. So maybe I'm missing something. But if he were to play better, like I'm watching Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon was the man in Orlando.
I was about to say that, man.
He was the guy.
He was in Orlando.
Yeah, that whole team, that was his team. To watch him play like he plays now, I mean, he had to accept that.
Yeah.
And, maybe you say, well, he isn't in Orlando anymore. He's older. Maybe. Well, I remember very specifically when he left.
His role is different.
His role is different. And he was the guy over there. Now, that team wasn't great.
No.
But that's not the point. The point is, he's like, well, I'm trying to win. So, I'll do what I got to do. But you've watched his game when he accepts that role, then his role ascends. He's doing more. Mm-hmm. He's making more plays. Even in that role, which could be considered a demotion by some. That's what I want Porter to do, is to evolve in the spot that he's in. Now, if you're planning to go somewhere else, that's cool. Go on and cook right here and then go where you're going to go. But
that's the thing. Show what you got, while you have the opportunity. You have a wide open, golden opportunity here in Denver to show out, so that when that contract negotiation come up, they can't stutter. All you got to do is just like look at scoreboard, look at the stats, pay me my money.
That's seniority money.
Pay me my money, because other than that, everybody else is going to be like, no. We're going to give you this. Well, I want more. Yeah, but you're not going to get more. We're not going to give you more.
You got to show out, man.
You got to show out when you have. Show out when you have the opportunity. You ain't got to. We ain't talking about you got to lead the team or anything of that nature, but you got to show out when you have the opportunity, when the opportunity is there for you.
I already got a team leader. You don't have to worry about that.
No.
Whatever comes with that, unless you're like, well, I want to be that. Well, then that's going to be tough. But
and that's another argument.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're like, no, I want to come and fit in. Like if you look at Jonathan Kuminga last week, had been playing very much. And I don't know if Steve Kerr is pissed at him or I don't know what it is. Yeah. I think because Steph goes out, they need another guy. And they started playing him. When he played, though, after being criticized, he on the bench, or he's not going to get his money, they're not playing him. And he went out there and had like 20-something points. I mean, 20-something active, help us get to a win kind of effort points.
Yeah.
And other plays too. And he had been sitting there. He could come in and just dog it. Be like, man, the dudes ain't been playing me for the last few weeks. I'm finna get out here and do this just because Steph is hurt and they need me now. He didn't take that route. Now,
poor decision on his part.
You know, he was like, no, I'm finna play. And I think he's up for a contract. So if people see that, they're like, oh, he can do that.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, we need him because if he comes over here in the regular season and we give him a better role than he got in Golden State, we got something.
You got something.
But you got to show that first. You know, those coaches, they know each other, right? A lot of them coach together.
But that's a fraternity.
Sure. And they will talk to each other and be like, man, he on our team. You do not want that guy. I heard y'all looking to get that guy over there. Hey, we in the same conference. We're in the same division.
Look, I ain't blowing smoke.
You do not want that. They will have that conversation.
Up your butt.
Yeah,
I'm
don't
telling
do that.
you what's real.
Yeah, and so because they'll sit like, for example, you watch what a team's offense is, and you're an assistant coach for the other team, so you got to play them next week. So you start watching tape, and you say, okay, they run 3 major things, and this is what it looks like. And then you watch how the guy in the offense actually operates in that offense. If it's similar to yours, you will go tell the general manager, hey, that dude over there, if we had him, we'd be this much better. Because I'm watching them, they're running the same offense almost that we're running. Mm-hmm. And he's doing stuff in that offense that they're not asking him to do because I know what that offense is. Like, I got a friend, he'll call me, like, if it's in March Madness and somebody I'll make a game-winning play. He said, man, tell me about that play. I said, well, I mean, man, it was a great shot. He said, bro, I already know you watched the replay 15 times. I said, okay.
I'm about to say, the way you analyze basketball, bro, is beyond anybody I know.
That's what he said. So he's like, man, come on with the, look, let me have it, man. Like, why didn't that happen? I said, well, and we'll start talking about it. And he just sits there and he's looking at me like, you spend too much time on this stuff. And I was like, I know that. But it intrigues me to see how that works. And I was like, they run that stuff all the time. And now, how do you know? I was like, because when they played them in December, they ran the same stuff. Mm-hmm. And this is what happened. And they should have stopped it because they seen the play before. And he's like, how do you know that? I was like, because I saw the game in December. And they ran that same stuff. And if I can see that, and I'm not an assistant coach in the NBA, I'm a fan that likes the game. But these dudes, they got dry erase boards, tape, graduate assistants, interns, they have all of that. So they got stuff I don't have. And they know stuff I don't know. Right. And they will see a guy like that and say, bring him in. And that's how that stuff works out. That's probably how a guy like James Harden got drafted in OKC. Mm-hmm. Because you could see him at, where he went, Arizona State. They're like, if we draft him, he's going to fit like this. Because look at the stuff that he does. Mm-hmm. It did work. Then he came to Houston and then he changed it to,
as the number one guy.
Yeah. He was like, I was over there with them other dudes. And they were like, yeah.
And that was another thing, too. I mean, that's another analysis, too. Somebody, when the people from Houston saw him and they were just like, he could be our number one dude. Even though he's the third or fourth option on this team right now. Because he was coming off the bench for OKC, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They were looking at him. They like, man, you see what this James Harden kid is doing over there in OKC? We can use him as our number one.
And he was averaging like 30 points a night. So I'm like,
yeah,
I didn't see that coming. I was like, he's going to be good. Because I saw that last year he had in OKC. I said, yeah. But I didn't know they were going to come out here, crown him, take the sword, hit one shoulder, take the sword, hit the other shoulder, and turn him loose. They did that.
You have been knighted.
Yeah. So offensively, he's, he is who he is. But
yes. But
yeah, I try to talk to kids about that too. I was like, hey, man, there are people here that know people. They went to school with folks. Like 3 guys, and they're like, I know scouts. If you play well, they're gonna tell it. Like, you got a kid down here, you should check out. if you're out there with an attitude or you ain't trying, you're like, I'm not going to be able to do it. Man.
So let me ask you this.
Yep.
What do you think about this phrase? Blood is thicker than water.
Oh, that was one of the ones.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, so I guess if I'm on a game show, I need to say, hey, I disagree. Or no, whatever. Blood is thicker than water. Boy, I think first off, it's a weird phrase. I looked at the origin of it and I was like, that's kind of weird. But what a weird thing to say.
What's the origin?
I forgot.
Okay.
Because a long time ago, I was like, well, where's the water part of this coming from? I didn't really get that. I got the blood part, but where's the water part? And I looked at it and then I read what they said it was. And I was like, okay. But I have such a problem with it because one, it's strange when a person is saying, well, you guys are in the same family tree. Therefore, whatever it is has to be okay and made to be okay, even if it's not correctly taken care of, concluded or healed or anything like that.
Holy cow.
If you've got you see that?
Dude, I'm looking it up. I just looked it up.
Hey.
It's one of those phrases that they completely butchered the meaning of.
Yep.
Okay, so here's what we always know. Mm-hmm. What blood is thicker than water mean? Mm-hmm. Blood is thicker than water means that family ties, blood ties, are more important than bonds with other people, such as friends, coworkers, classmates, whatever.
That's what commonly said.
That's what it's commonly said.
But it's got a military spin.
Oh my goodness, dude. The full actual quote is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, which means that an agreement or deep bond is more important than familial ties.
See,
we have taken it and completely reversed it.
Sir.
Are you kidding me?
It ain't even close. There was a military one too.
Are you kidding me?
That's the one. That's the one. I was like, wow, that doesn't even mean what everybody says it means. And everybody's saying that.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, that's not even close.
It's not even close. Not even by a smidgen. Like, that's you're playing darts and you missed the entire entire bullseye, the target zone.
You hit the waitress.
You hit the wall. Yeah,
you hit the waitress.
You hit the waitress.
She dropped the mozzarella stick.
Exactly.
That's two bad things that happened.
Good night.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, man.
Are you kidding me? You're not even close to the board.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Ain't that something?
We have taken it and completely flipped it.
Yeah.
Flipped the meaning of it.
It's a sad thing.
The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
Right.
Which means your relationship with your mother ain't strong enough.
I'll wait.
Oh my God.
It hurt, man.
Wow. I have
Yeah. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
It was like,
clearly.
It was like maybe about, I don't know, maybe about the time, right about before the pandemic. I was like, what does that mean? Because it always bothered me.
Right.
I know. I mean, we good and grown 5 years ago. That's when the pandemic was starting.
Right.
I was like, let me just check this out. And I remember seeing that and I was like, oh man, even what you say it is, it's not what it is. Ain't that something though? But
ain't that something?
Man. And so somebody someday just was like, nah. This is what we gonna do.
We gonna switch this up.
Yeah. And I'm gonna put a plague on everybody's house with this. And everybody's gonna be like, and someone they went and had a drink with, started nodding and was like, yeah, that's what that's gonna be. And that's not what it is, man. And so since you have that meaning that's been co-opted, it has this poisonous effect where people are running around here doing things to family, taking things off of family members that have consequences, and you shouldn't do that. All for the sake of saying, well, that's your only dad you're going to get, or only mom you're going to get, or that's your brother, or that is the mother of my child, so therefore her behavior gets a mulligan, even though it's something that's a huge red flag and something that you actually should do something about.
Boy.
And I see people let that stuff go because they say, well, I want to stay peaceful. Everybody, well, no, that's not true. Most people like peace. But if you're out of line,
you're out of line.
You're out of line. And if you are, I think the person that recognizes it and being affected by it should say, okay, well, we got to rectify this. And you might not like
Yeah.
What the solution is, but blood is thicker than water. So, that's
we family. We all we got.
Yeah, and you outside of family, and you cool with them, but we ain't. I was like, but the stuff that you're doing, you're actively campaigning and doing things against me that should not happen.
You're actively being disrespectful.
Right. So why should, because we blood. It's like, yeah, but
that should be more reason for you to not be that way. I
have this thing I struggle with. I grew up with both of my parents, so I cannot speak to what it feels like to not have one, or in some cases not even have both.
Right.
Because I got friends that don't have both. One cutting up, one wasn't cutting up and just left. I want to live my life and go do that. That's why sometimes I have smoke for our parents, because they run around here sometimes like, yeah, we're this generation. I say, man, y'all had some screw ups too.
Oh yeah.
And people running around here want to be a singer in the 70s. I said, that was y'all. and look what you did. You leaving kids around here and you got all this, hurt people stuff because y'all weren't perfect.
I mean, you do realize that Papa Was a Rolling Stone came out in the early 70s from 60s and 50s and 40s and 30s and 20s experiences.
Listen, man.
So it don't play like this is only a Gen X, millennial, Gen Z type situation.
No.
This has been going on for decades and centuries before. You're part of that. Man. You're part of that toxicity as well.
Stop rolling up on me talking about you've been on a deacon board for 50 years when I know.
Oh my goodness!
Some of this stuff that you've been doing was diabolical.
Do not get me on these self-righteous deacons and elders and preachers who try to act as if, I'm from the cloth.
And you need to do this, and you
need to clean your cloth.
Young people, yeah, you do. And you young people out here, y'all are the ones that screwed up the whole world. We didn't do anything wrong.
Boy, please.
I'm like, come on, but.
Sit down with all that.
It's weird, man, because it's like, okay, y'all just need to work these things out. These are familial ties you have. So therefore it must work. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is, the thing I was saying that I get in trouble with when I was starting to say this was I had my parents. So I've got folks that didn't have theirs. Mm-hmm. They have one, and that one did their thing and they made it out, so to speak.
Right. Your boy included.
Yes. And it's like, but if you ask their parent, you say, well, if you had someone that, fit the bill and stuck it out, would it have been easier? And they would all say, yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's not the case. The one that I had, we didn't work out. And so I got my kids here and we got to make it work out. And by the way, I have more than a handful of those that are single fathers, which is another discussion because they don't really get the credit. Right. And they should. But, so it's both genders cutting up and leaving one to do all the work and want to show up at the kids' graduation and ain't seen them in 15 years.
Right.
That kind of stuff. But they'll have a situation like, say, a physically abusive situation. Kids being abused, trapped. You live here illegally. You got to stay here. You got a person come home wailing off on and putting you in pure hell in your childhood. Then you get older and you go off to the military, you go to work or you go to college and you have this freedom. And then you say, I want to rekindle it with this guy or this lady. Mm-hmm. And I was like, but why though?
Why?
And it's like, because that is my blood tie and I want to explore a relationship. I said, but look at these chapters, these lists of things that they did. Well, nobody's perfect. I said, now that's true.
Absolutely.
But there are some people that you actually absolutely need to stay away from because they do so much damage. Yeah. And not just the physical stuff. You could talk about the mental things that people have done and the shortcomings that you had and even not even pouring into a kid. I mean, this thing with your parent, my phrase is, people say, well, I was there for my kid. I was like, you physically there, but emotionally and, parentally absent. You physically there, but parentally absent. You wasn't doing what you're supposed to do. You got to stay together.
You weren't doing
you closed the door.
Mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
Right. I mean, I've seen some playoff games. I missed a lot of them fooling around with my boys because they got stuff to do. Yeah. And so people ask me about it. I said, I didn't see it because primarily I'm going to go do what I need to do with them. Yeah. But I'm like, why do you want to go back to this person? Because it seems to me that's when we were talking about biblical stuff. That's the Lodabar, right? In the Bible, there's nothing good coming in, nothing good coming out. It's just barren land. It's dark, bad weather, bad animals, no food, no nothing. Nothing good coming in, nothing good coming out. Why would you go? And I had people try to explain to me, you don't understand that because you didn't go through that. And I said, well, I ain't never been abused, but I understand that I don't want to be abused. I ain't never been in a space. There's not a good reason for you to say I don't understand it. Like when people say, well, you're not married, so you don't understand what I'm going through. I'm like, but he took all your money and left. And now you want to get back together. I was like, but why? And they're like, well, you don't understand it because you're not married. I was like, that's a really bad thing. So can you explain it to me? And so that's the thing I get in trouble with, because they think I'm being judgmental. I'm actually saying, if you go that route, you're unprotected again.
Yeah.
You sure you want to do that?
Yeah.
They get offended because it's a tough thing for them, I guess.
Well, the thing is, from the people inside the situation, within the situation, who's too close to the situation sometimes, for those individuals who, like you, are outside the box asking these questions, like as to why are you doing this? Are they taking into account that there has been some active pursuits of change to better themselves, to make sure that that does not happen? That, number one, the perpetrator doesn't do it again. Mm-hmm. And number two, that the victim is wise enough to see if those actions are happening again, that they will be wise enough to step away, because I get where you're coming from. Because it's like, just because I haven't been through it doesn't mean I'm blind to understanding.
Yeah. I know what a train wreck looks like.
I know what a train wreck looks like. I've never been in a train wreck. I know what it looks like when a plane crashes, right, but I've never been in a plane crash before. And I understand that there is suffrage that goes through that. I understand that there is a physical toll of having to recover from that if you're in a survival position of survival from any of those things. So, but doesn't mean, just because I haven't been through it doesn't mean that I don't know what the strain and what the situation should be like.
It's always a weird response to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, it just because I haven't been through it doesn't make me absent from being able to ask questions about it, because I'm not asking questions strictly for my knowledge and understanding. I'm asking questions also for you to start the wheel of thinking this through. Like, have you thought this through? Are you doing this because you really do love this individual? Are you doing this because you see that this individual who betrayed you at one point has made those changes to strive to do better, not only for you, but mainly for themselves? Because that type of healing is necessary for the individual who caused the damage just as much as the individual who received the damage.
Right.
So have you thought that part through? Have you thought through, are you thinking this through because of the fact that, maybe we can rekindle things? Is this because that you haven't met anybody else yet and you're just that lonely?
Because romantic stuff.
Yeah. And if that's the case, then again, you're looking at the wrong angle on this, because that individual may still come back and do this thing to you again. In fact, what's to stop them? Because now they're seeing you as, oh, you're a joke. Because if I did this to you before and you called yourself being upset, but I still do these type of things and you're taking me back, that means I'm going to do this again.
Man.
If they have not seen themselves to a point of where they want to heal and do better, then they're going to look at you as somebody that they can play off again.
They like who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
So if that's still that person, you're taking a big chance there.
What's stopping them from not doing it again?
Well, one situation, I'll be brief. They said they weren't going to change. And my friend I'm speaking to, I said, hey, you know me, you and I, off the air. I mean, boy, we done talked about some deeply personal stuff, right?
Yes.
So, you know me, I don't go to you and say, hey, man, you want something to drink? Now sit down and tell me your business. I don't do that.
Right.
I don't do that. Everybody's a little nosy, but I don't go and ask people about whether I know about the stuff or not. I don't go and ask them like, yo, give me some of this real personal stuff you got going on. When they tell me this, that's when these things happen.
Right.
And one of them recently was just what you were saying. It was going down those lines. It was a rekindling in a romantic relationship, and it went real badly, months before. And he's like, yeah, we're gonna try it again. And I said, man, and he said, what do you think about that? See, that's the one.
Yeah.
You said that.
Yes.
So now I'm gonna say, what I think, lovingly, right?
Right. I'm not here to berate you.
No, and I'm not perfect either. But I can offer something on the sideline because I ain't in the mix.
Right.
And I'm careful and I'm thoughtful when I say something. And I say, but why though? Why would you go back and into that situation? Well, we're going to wipe the slate clean, man. We're going to give it a go. I say, okay, but what's the delta besides time? What's changed? I mean, you know, we had them rough times, but now we just want to give it a try again. I said, but has there been kind of this, at least low level atonement for behavior? Stuff you did, stuff she did. And the answer was no, which was an honest answer. I was like, but then if you don't do that, then when it happens again, you don't even have much of a claim because that person can say, well, you know, that's kind of what I do. And you took me back.
This is who I am.
Yeah. Instead of, you know, we hadn't talked in a while and somebody sends somebody a WYD. That's not enough. And you know, it's not enough. And quite frankly, it shouldn't be enough. If you're not a young person, you know, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, that should not be enough.
Yeah.
There's stakes to this stuff, man. We paying bills now. We got stuff to do. You know, it's tough. And and in that situation, they gave it a go and it crashed out. I mean, it was one of the, you know, the H-bomb, the black and white picture.
Yeah.
One of those. It was worse.
Mushroom cloud.
Yeah, it was worse than the first time. And now they're both like, I don't really want to date anybody. I'm like, no, look at that. And, you know, for one of them, I would say, actually, I would say maybe that's a good idea. I didn't say that to them, but if they ask, I'd be like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Anyway.
Do I know them?
No.
Okay.
No. Actually, no.
Cool. Not saying I need to. I was just wondering.
No.
Yeah.
No, it ain't in our circle.
Yeah, that's a hard thing.
That's tough, man.
That's a tough thing, you know. And I get the nostalgia of it because after a while, when you're separated from somebody for after a while, or divorced from somebody after a while, you know, and if things have not been going well in the dating world because things aren't great in the dating world these days. And you think about all of a sudden you kind of forgot about all the bad. And all you're thinking about was all the good stuff, all the good times. And there were good times. No, don't get it twisted. I ain't going to hold you. But just hear me out. Those bad times were there.
They're bad.
And if you've never addressed them, there's not going to be any change. There's not going to be any change at all if neither side has addressed them. If you haven't addressed them personally or you haven't addressed them with that individual. And again, if there's been no change, it's going to repeat itself. And what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over
again and expecting a different result.
Exactly.
And man, everybody's had some insane moments. That's another reason why when I talk to people, I'm like, yeah, well, I remember when I did that, it was like, well, you telling me not to do it? I was like, man, I'm telling you some of this stuff I didn't get right. What I don't want to come across is to some of these people, and some of my friends just love me because they think I'm a good guy. But I don't want them to internally be like, this guy thinks he's Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't want that. I don't need you to sit down and let me tell you a story. You got to be very careful
right
about that.
Right.
And it's like, I just want to be two things, helpful and out of the way. That's it.
Bro, that's helpful and out of the way.
Out of the way.
That is a skill set.
Yeah. And one I am working on.
Yeah.
You know, I know where my heart is and all that, but I want to be helpful and I want to be out the way. And so sometimes I come across, I said, man, you know, I'll leave a conversation. I said, man, that sounded really preachy. But, you know, I really I see these things because I'm sitting on the sideline. I'm the wire camera like anybody else would be. You sit at the game, at a football game, and you can just, if you're a football guy, you like, boy, that defensive call was the worst defensive call ever. You can see that.
Yes.
But you got guys out there making $15 million a year, and they couldn't see that. And that was their job. But you sitting there, you can see that. I find that the blood is thicker than water thing. It has tentacles. Yeah. And those tentacles make the butterfly effect bigger, right? Okay. Like when there's something happens over here and it affects a whole bunch of stuff in your life. And if you would have probably approached that differently, you might not have some of the issues, the things to deal with later on. I've got really good family members, extended family. Stuff I screw up, they wasn't in the way. My aunts and uncles, they wasn't in the way.
Right.
My parents wasn't in the way. So if I had to look around for somebody, it's a room full of mirrors. It's like, there he is. Whichever way I point, that's the guy. And so, that accountability piece, you got two things to do. You can cower, or then you can say, okay, well, I got to do something about it. It's not them, but I do have very close friends whose family, even now at our age, is actively campaigning against them. And I cannot figure out why that is, except, there are things, they're jealous. They're chronically unhappy. They are, what's the phrase? They're strung out on negativity.
Yes.
Wherever they can get it, they get it. So if you are a kid under their leadership, they just been strung out on negativity. And I got people my age right now that still can't get over a hump, that could be doing something that they love, that would make the planet better. And they got parents and sisters and brothers that are actively going against them in various different ways. I say it, and most of the time they're just like, but I don't want my mama to be mad at me. I'm like, dude, you 40. Like,
you're 40.
So if you don't do
you
this,
are out of the house and have your own family.
Yeah, but if you don't do this, what happens? Well, then I'm here. I was like, but do you want to be there? It's like, no. It's like, but if you're there, what does that do to your family? Well, then it causes this. Like, then you need to go and do that thing. And I guess depending on your relationship with that mom or that dad, you need to tell them, like, yo, this is what I'm doing. And you need to back off, especially if you come to my house with that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Well, that's my mom. That's fine. But she needs to be saying the same thing. She needs to be looking in the mirror saying, I'm his mom. So I should be doing things to further what he's got going on. That's part of, your life. And I see that happen all the time. And I say, well, I don't know exactly how I would have handled that, because my parents, I got the opposite thing. They were just like, man, you want to go to the moon? I'm not paying for it, but how are you going to do that? and if you want to do that, you want to go to space camp. Yeah, my dad, like, I go get some overtime for a couple of years. They're that.
Yeah.
So I don't have any physical relation to that. But there are people right now actively that have been on their own for 15, 20, 30 years, and they can't get over that hump. And they will rest on the blood is thicker than water deal. I don't intend to piss off my parents, but if they get in the way of what my purpose is, I will.
Yeah. And
that is something that I'm not saying as a flex. I'm saying I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You're your own man now. Once you moved out the house, their job was done. Their job was over.
Yeah.
Being wary of time, sir, I think we need to make this a wrap. Well, Oklahoma City did not make that a difficult decision.
Oh, boy.
125-93.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my.
That was a little worse than it was when we first started talking.
Yeah.
I guess they hurt us.
Yeah. Woo. What's that, 32? Yeah. 32-point blowout.
Yeah, that's tough.
Man, they were not ready.
Oh, my goodness.
They were not ready.
Well, did a lot of talking about Denver, but shout out to OKC, who has a really strong unit.
Look, SGA, that boy is a beast. Oh, my goodness, dude. Shea had 35.
Man, what?
Shea had 35 in 36 minutes.
And here you go, right? He shot 12 of 19.
Yeah, 12 of 19, 3 of 4 from the outside.
Same.
8 of 9 from the line. Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful. That is a lost start.
Make your free throws.
Make your free throws.
If you make 2 free throws a quarter, you average 8 points per game. If you make 2 more points each quarter, you average 16. You can get $25 million a year.
2 free throws and one
layup.
What?
You go sit down. You could get off the tip. You could get a layup out of that. If you get fouled to make 2 free throws and it's 10 minutes left in the first, you can put your hand up and say, Coach, take me out.
I'm good.
Because in the second quarter, I'm going to do it again. Sit down. You can play like 9 minutes and do that and make $30 million. So, man, but he had a good game.
Yeah, he had a good game. Jalen Williams was the next man up with 24. Chet Holmgren had 13. Isaiah Hartenstein, he had 10. You got Alex Caruso. He had 11. Aaron Wiggins had 8. Yeah, man.
I think You know,
Man.
defensively, they probably was choking off Denver. I'd have to see the scores quarter by quarter. They probably were choking them off.
Yeah.
And they're getting them layups. Because thing about OKC, man, they got a lot of guys under, age 24?
Yeah, they got a young squad. They got a young squad.
You know, they get out and gallop.
Okay, so here we go. It opened up in the second and third quarter. Denver had 26-21 lead at the end of one. 39-20, outscored 39-20 in the second quarter, 37-26 in the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter was just fluff, 28-21 OKC. But yeah, that 19-point differential in the second quarter and 11-point differential in the third quarter, that's 30 points right there.
That's a lot. Mm-hmm. And life comes at you fast. That's a lot. Because then it's not like, okay, we can come back. Because anybody you're playing now and have been for the last 2 playoff series, right? This is everybody can play now. So if you got people that barely made it in, played in, and they're not that great, all those teams been gone for like 2 or 3 weeks. So now when you get behind, it's like, oh, I'll just come back. Because there have been a lot of comebacks, even in these playoffs. But at some point, these things get to tighten up.
Boston and New York. Yeah. Back-to-back games where Boston had a 20-point lead and New York came back and won both of them in Boston.
Yep. Got a couple of classmates that love Boston. I'm sending them messages. I'm like, you on the plane or what? Because you got to go up there and do something. And then Jason Tatum gets hurt. And
yeah, that was it.
They won the next game.
As soon as he went down, I texted one of my buddies. I was like, that's an Achilles. He's out.
He was. And now that sucks for him because
he's going to be a few months.
He's going to be gone. It'll be all next season or at least a significant chunk of next season. They won the next game, and then the game after that, I guess New York was like, what are we doing here, man?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was.
And
that's exactly what that next game was like. Okay, that was that. We're going to give them the Celtic pride, and New York came up there with with not enough energy, not the energy that they usually had.
Right.
But then after that, Jalen Brunson was like, nah,
that's enough of that.
We good.
Yep.
This is our series. Let's go ahead and take this now. We are not going to a game 7, and we're going to show them in this game 6 that they don't even have a shot.
That's what they did.
That's what they did.
I was like, man, we're going to go to a game 7. No, we're not.
No, we're not.
Man.
No, sir.
We're not doing that.
Nope. We are not
doing that.
So now you got T-Wolves and the Thunder, Pacers and the Knicks. Okay, I know this ain't this ain't our Pacers and Knicks, but it still kind of looks good to see the Pacers and Knicks logo back to back to each other, getting ready to go at it for a 7-game series. And I think this is going to go 6 or 7 games
with the Pacers and Knicks.
Yeah,
man,
who you got?
I really like the Knicks.
That one starts on Wednesday.
I like the Knicks, but see, I keep saying that, and then Indiana just keeps beating people. So you think I would be like, well, maybe I didn't learn my lesson.
My only caveat with the Knicks is the fact that I don't know if they're going to be burnt out by then because they only play 6 deep.
Well, they play a lot of minutes with their top guys.
They start in 5, and they have maybe 1 or 2 guys come off the bench. Man. That'd be my only thing because the Pacers, they go deep and they run. Mm-hmm. They are a fast paced squad. Mm-hmm. And then you got the T-Wolves and the Thunder. That one's going to go 7. I'm leaning OKC, but man, Ant-Man,
they
not going to lie.
And if Julius Randle is playing well, they can. I didn't like him like what he was doing in the regular season. I guess he's trying to find his way through.
He found his way. He finally found it.
Last series, boy, he was taking it to them cats, and it was in an efficient way. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't like, well, it's my ball, my team now, and Ant, you just get yours. He was like, no, you get yours. I'm going to get mine. And how I'm going to get it is not going to interfere. What you're doing don't interfere with what I'm doing, and here they are.
Yeah.
But
he finally found his footing.
I'm concerned about how they're going to play Gobert with a team that moves like OKC.
Yeah.
I think because you play Gobert because he's helpful on defense, but at the same time, if you got a 4-out, 1-in kind of thing where you got 4 shooters out there and Shea got the ball and he's starting to dance. Mm-hmm. If they do a screen and roll and call him up, now you got everybody out the way. And then whatever they do after that would be, whatever those guys run. I'm not sure exactly what they do after that, but Rudy's, I would imagine he's going to have a tough time with that. But maybe they, what's that coach name? Chris Finch. He schemes up something.
Yeah.
And that's cool. But if they get into foul trouble, because I'm not certain Minnesota has a really deep bench either.
Yeah, I mean, they do go into their bench, but I don't know how effective their bench is going to be against a team like the Thunder.
I think OKC gets them a win in Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At some point and early, and they end up going to the finals.
Yeah.
In 6.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think they do.
I think both series can go 6 or 7.
If Shea's playing like this, then I don't like him for 6. They're going.
It might be a gentleman's sweep,
because he missed 7 shots. He basically shot. I don't know what 12 or 19 is. That's probably 60%.
That's about 60%.
Yeah,
it's right under. It's probably like about 55, 57%, somewhere around there.
Capella used to shoot 60%.
Yeah.
In Houston, he catching lobs and dunks.
Yeah.
This guy is playing against premier players, and he's going to the hole.
Yeah.
And he's getting shots off on Aaron Gordon and whoever else.
He's throwing up floaters. He's hitting, he's good with the mid range too. So, I mean, that's why I like his game too. Wow. I really do.
Why more people don't do that?
I don't know. KD is, people talk about KD as like the dinosaur of that, because he is one of the few who are from, who's done that his entire career, shoot that mid range shot. He's been really good with that. I remember, what's his name? Anthony Carmelo. He was another one with that too, man. That boy can score in any facet that he wanted to. Melo was great. KD, great. Kobe, great. All of them had one thing in common. They stuck to the mid-range. They shoot the 3 when they had the opportunity to shoot the 3. They didn't shoot the 3 as if that was their only thing. And they went to the basket. If they knew when their shot wasn't falling, they go to the basket, draw the foul, and start, hitting it from the free throw line. And they were some great free throw shooters.
And Carmelo out that 3, the 2 pointers that he would get, how he got his 2 pointers was just, it was maddening. But boy, he
fully understand.
When he was in his prime, man, them twos he would get up. How he did it.
Oh my!
People should study that, and yes. You should really study less of the guys that shoot logo 3s, and watch a guy that can get a 2-pointer off on anybody, and he could get one off on anybody. Because I remember how much they talked about
his footwork was so amazing.
And he would face you up.
Yep.
And
his first step,
he just and sometimes he didn't dribble. He just shoot that jumper.
Yeah.
And boy, he'd have 35 points, and you like, yep. And he didn't really have quiet. Some of these guys like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander will have 28. You like, man, I remember him scoring 8 points. I don't remember the rest of that.
I remember 4 baskets.
Yeah.
Where did these other points come from?
Carmelo's points was loud and painful.
Yeah.
And he used to come at people when he was in Denver, when they talked about LeBron so much when he came into the league. And I'm like, but I just saw him win a championship at Syracuse, Carmelo Anthony. I said, man, he's going to be pretty good. Well, he wasn't pretty good. He was better than that.
Yeah.
But I'm watching him play. I'm like, man, he might be just as good as LeBron right now. I think there was separation that came later. I think LeBron was better. But there's a case to be made that he was every bit as good.
Oh, yeah, those first 5 or 6 years?
Maybe, I'd say maybe about that 4th year. At that, when LeBron got to about year 5 or year 6, people had start sitting up and like, okay, well, that wasn't a fluke, and he's actually getting better. Because he was really good by like year 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And then he was getting better, like
slowly projecting.
He was doing stuff. You like, that's really awesome. But then he was doing the pretty stuff, the cock back, tomahawk dunks and all that. But you watch him plays, he's making these passes he's making and all that. It's incredible.
The basketball IQ.
What time is church?
Yeah, we need to wrap up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for tapping in to Okay, So Hear Me Out. I'm your host, Bear. This was Chris. Appreciate you stopping by once again, my G, so we can do this. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, see, I was about to say the same thing.
It's always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for tapping in. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and on YouTube.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, we're trying to be everywhere. We're trying to spread the word. Let's see. Please follow us on Instagram and TikTok at @OkSoHearMeOut_podcast. Thank you once again for tapping in. Peace, love, prayers, and as always, make a great day.